What's going on, people? Welcome to the Offside Chat podcast. It's your boy in the podcast studio. Welcome, obviously, the one and only Naeem. What's going on, brother? How are you?
I'm very well, man. Busy weekend of a lot of good games, wasn't it? So yeah, a lot to chat on about. But yeah, we're all this blessed.
Lots to talk about. Lots to talk about. Right. Oh, and Edward has entered the studio. How are you, Ed? You okay? You all good? Are you okay, Ed?
Pose and everything.
Cool.
Jeez, man. Work trying to kill me, bro.
Nah, it's all good, bro. I see you under pressure. It's all good, man. But listen, look, let's get straight into the Premier League weekend because it was an amazing one. There's no two ways about that. We're going to start off with Manchester United giving City the Blues Old Trafford 12:30 kickoff. Manchester United versus Manchester City. Blockbuster game, blockbuster fixture. So many great Premier League memories over the years, and to be fair, this one just really didn't disappoint. And I remember I called out this game a couple of weeks ago. I can't remember what you two thought about it, but I looked at that game and I thought, if they get their new manager in, whoever that may be, before kickoff, I think you're going to get the new manager bounce. I knew that Ahmad was on his way back, and Bremer was on his way back. I thought that's a lot more firepower. And listen, Manchester United have been terrible over the last couple of years. I don't think their supporters have to or can argue with that. But there is something about that theatre of dreams where there's a lot of attention on there, especially if a bigger team comes. I know they've been thrashed over the years, but I just had a funny feeling because I looked at that and I thought maybe the occasion's a bit too much for them. And listen, that's probably the best I've seen Manchester United play for a very long time. And I have to admit, as everybody knows, Manchester United are probably my most disliked club. And why am I screaming when Mbeumo's scoring? Why am I screaming when Maguire hits the crossbar? I'm not even lying, man. Yeah, that first half, even though I felt sick, but I actually thought, I actually understand what these United supporters have been, because if this is what is being served up, like just missed chances, obviously from Maguire, even when they're playing well, I thought I can't, I can't watch this for 2, 3 years, or how many years since Fergie's gone. However, they got the assignment, they got the memo, and they've done their jobs. And that's exactly what they did. I know they were in a bit of a rock and a hard place because it's a very strange. The London Manchester United supporters, they don't like Arsenal. That's just what it is. And I was speaking to a couple of before the game, and they were saying, do you know what? We don't want to do you any favors. We don't want to do you any favors. But I think once the game started and they saw the patterns of play, I think they were on side and thinking, do you know what? Let's forget Arsenal for now. We'll deal with them next week. But let's really take it to City. And you know what? Fair play to them. They did. There was 2 disallowed goals for offside as well. You had Ahmad, you had Bruno, which was a lovely finish. And I think I don't give Manchester United enough credit. But look, they came in. Maybe it was the occasion. Maybe give, Carrick at the wheel. Whatever it is, we do know Man United can do this. And then the next week, they'll lose 3 on the trot or 2 on the trot. However, fair play. And I actually enjoyed that victory for them as well. That probably be the last time I'll ever do that, but I enjoyed the game, and it was good. It was good for City to hold that, to be fair, because I don't know if there's going to be another signing now. Obviously, they lost the game on Saturday. Maybe there's another player that they want to spend millions on and bring it up to 700 or maybe 800 million and put someone else on 300k. Big up Mark Guehi for that. But it just seems good, man. Good. Honestly, I looked at that and I thought, no, hold that, City. You're not going to buy yourself out of this one. You need to hold the L. And yeah, well done, Manchester United. That's probably the last time I'm going to say. They played well. Carrick came back. Obviously, Sir Alex Ferguson in the stand as well. All the Man United choir boys or the ex-players, they were all there cheering. And what's the funniest thing? Was Roy Keane for me. I think, as I said, I know his box office, but for me, the black sheep. That's basically what it was. it's the black sheep. He doesn't feel any of these, man. He literally that he's not feeling Fergie. He's not feeling Carrick. He's not feeling Rio. He's just that captain that listen. None of them can talk to him. None of them. But he has still got that sort of bitterness towards Sir Alex Ferguson and his so-called disciple. So I thought that was hilarious. He's had to calm down an ex-Liverpool player. Can you imagine? You're arguing with a so-called op from another. That's how vexed you are about it. But it is true. We have to calm down because sometimes we've seen this film before. So, but look, good victory for Manchester United. Well done. And let's just see where it goes. Edward, what did you make of the game, man? Of course, the result you wanted, but
I was with you, man. I watched it with my boy Theo. He's been on the show.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, man. Because you know what it is? As much as I wanted United to win, yeah, because I'm an Arsenal fan, you know the beef, the never-ending beef between Arsenal fans and London-based United fans. So on one hand, I love United pain. I crave it. You know what I mean? When they're in the mud, just inject it, man. Just
yeah, I love it.
It's a drug. If I could bottle it and sell it, I'll be a billionaire. You'll never see me again. But then I needed them to do a job for us. So when the job was done, all I was doing was messaging my United mate saying, listen, well done. You work for us. You know? All this nonsense about, oh, yeah, United are back. You dumbasses. Excuse my language. You just helped us. You know what I mean? You're helping us inadvertently. So you won, but at what cost? And back to the game. United were worth all 3 points, man. City were woeful. They were anemic. I know they've got a lot of injuries, especially defensively, but that was as poor a City side I have seen probably since Pep's first season. And with Pep's first season, that was an acclimatization period. That wasn't even a situation where, he really knew the intensity and the pace of the league yet. He hadn't got to grips with the league yet. This is a Pep side that almost looks like they've run out of steam in terms of them being the perennial champions. Now, listen, there's a lot of games left to play. I don't attempt fate, but they look like they just didn't have an answer for United on Saturday, man. And I get it, it's a derby. We can't read too much into United's form going into the next games because at the end of the day, they do know that if there's one team that they can't lose against, or two rather, it's, especially for the Manchester-based United fans, it's City and it's Liverpool. I know the London-based man will be like, listen, Arsenal's up there, but the real Manchester-based United fans from Salford and all them areas here, they know that you do not lose to City and you therefore don't lose to Liverpool. Especially
and Leeds, maybe, yeah.
Oh, yeah, Leeds as well, of course. Leeds as well. But those two teams currently, you don't lose to those two, man. So they rose their game. Carrick came back. He knows what it means. All the hoopla about United DNA and you need someone within the club and Busby and SAF and Bobby Charlton and all. Shut up, man. You rose your game. You won. You helped us out, and I was happy. It could have been 5. They had 3 disallowed goals for offside. You know what I mean? They had no answer. When you're seeing Haaland getting hooked with minutes to go, that it's a bad day. When you're seeing him get hooked, it's just like, yeah, everything that could have gone wrong for City went wrong. When your goalie is the man of the match for you, yeah, that's when you've had a bad day at the office. When your goalie's keeping you in the tie, he wasn't meant to win that day. And fair play to United, man. I know they're going to be gassed. And well done, lads. When your employees do well, what do? You reward them, right? You give them a bonus, you give them a raise. You know what I mean? So well done, United, man. Thank you very much for the denting. These hopes.
All right, listen, Ed. Yeah, I second what you're saying. The only thing is what's been so funny about the United supporters?
Mm-hmm.
They're a funny old bunch, aren't they?
Yeah.
And the reason is really like this. Before the game, obviously Amarin getting sacked. They don't know what they're doing. Carrick coming in. I don't want Ollie. I don't want Carrick. We've got to go bigger than this. It's just going to be an interim manager. That is it now. We've wasted another season. Do you know what I mean? We play in that position. Carrick comes back. And again, look, Carrick's at the wheel. I've heard it from the United supporters. This is the best football they've seen since Fergie. It's the best football they've seen in years. And it just goes to show football is a very, very emotional game. And when you win, that drug, that feeling of winning can really throw you off. So now I've been met this morning with people that even really want to, look me in the eye. Now all of a sudden they're beaming. I'm sipping my coffee. I turn around. I've got 2 United supporters wanting to talk about the game, wanted to talk about Sunday, telling me to watch out. They're coming. So it's hilarious. But you know what? That is the cost of them doing their job against City. And I knew that. What did you think, man, of the game?
I think you both made very fair points. I can't disagree. I think it's the best we've seen Man United for a long time. I was trying to think of the last time you saw a performance like that, end to end as well. I mean, they bossed the whole game. I think we spoke briefly offline before the game. I think it was a bit of a perfect storm. City obviously played midweek as well. They had to play the same back four. Obviously, Carrick returning, everything aligned. The Godfather was, Ferguson was in the crowd. So it was all lined up for them. Obviously, they're noisy neighbours, and having Ahmad back and Mbeumo back, I think, as well as changing the shape and having them players back from AFCON as well, made a big difference. Had a much more cutting edge. I thought they set the team up well with Mbeumo on top, caused a lot of problems. Defensively, though, City all over the place. There was periods when you saw it where the keeper, United keeper, had it, and it was 4-on-3, breaking 4 United players onto 3 City players, a bit all over the place. I think the tired work does look right. Rodri doesn't look the player he was before his injury. He looks like he slowed down a lot. He needs a bit more legs around him in that aspect. But I give credit to United. I think back four, that setup looks much better for them. They've got pace and they've got players that play in the league and have experience, especially with obviously Cunha still as there was on the bench, and fancy Seska to do much better in that setup. So credit to United. Let's see if they can back it up when they go to the Emirates on Sunday, isn't it? Sunday.
Yeah, no, definitely. Where does that leave City, lads? Because they throw more money at this. Must be.
Mark Guehi will come in, isn't it? Mark Guehi was signed too late, isn't it? Obviously, to play
Mark
that game. So he'll come back in. I'm not sure what their injuries are like with the rest of their defenders. I think Guardiola's out for the season.
Mm-hmm. He's out for the season with a broken leg.
And
Diaz is out for 6
weeks with a hamstring. Okay, but the thing with hamstrings is they're quite a dodgy injury because they can reoccur quite a lot. Yeah. So he's not out of the woods yet. With City, I'd let them spend money, man. When people are complaining or not complaining, but they're worried, they've been spending money. Like it doesn't bother me. For me, as an Arsenal fan, we're in a driving seat. So do your job. They can spend. If they want to spend another 1.2 billion in 6 months, let them. I'm not worried about the charges. I'm not worried about the money, because the way I see it is, every other team, if they were in City shoes, will be happy with their team spending money. So the rank hypocrisy, I get it. It's not fun when you're on the receiving end of a team that's backed by a petrol state, but you all would give your right arm to be bought out by a petrol state and be spending money with reckless abandon. And if you don't, you're all lying. That's my opinion. 100%. Everyone that says no and they want to do it the right way, la 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 la.
Well, listen, look, as I said, I hate to bring this up, but look, at the end of the day, listen, I'm an Arsenal supporter. And my club has got tradition and stuff. No one's saying that there's not millions in there. No one's saying that David Dean was, a significant figure for breaking away from the Football League. But my club's a classy club. And and that's just it. No one's saying that it's not good.
And you wanted Usmanov. Don't even.
Because of the money, Russian money.
You wanted Usmanov. He was a Uzbeki billionaire.
Apologies.
You wanted that money.
Okay.
You wanted that money.
How do we know? No, that's
don't
fine.
Tell me about.
Stan Kroenke is a billionaire. But what I'm saying is that when you were a kid as well, you probably used to look at the bad kids sometimes and think, "Oh, do you know what? I wish I could be doing that. I wish I had this car at this age, and I wish my mum gave me this and that." But sometimes when you come from good stock, you look back and think, you know what? Thank God I never just went for that. It's called, Ed, you know what it's called? Tradition. Don't go like that, and you know what I'm saying.
I'm not buying. If you're selling, I'm not buying. Privately, you'd admit it to his fault.
No.
Shout out to Dangote.
I believe you. Class, tradition.
You know what? I hear that, but
everybody
Good
wants.
party line. That's a good party line. That's a good spokesman would say it.
honestly,
First,
no.
yeah.
That's just not me.
He's the
Now,
prime
look,
minister, man.
no, I'm being real. And
Give it
you
a
guys
week.
see this-
We condemn Hamas. Hey. We condemn Hamas. That's what he said. Yeah, I hear it.
look at look at you two as well. Look, we're going off track, but you got to think that we could have been getting things. Sometimes you look back and you think, nah, you got to do things in a proper way. Now, look, City can spend what they want. It's a state. It's run by a state. So the playing field is completely different. And you can't even... There's no law that can make it level, because even if there's some discrepancies, things are pushed down the line to another year and stuff. So for me, one thing I would say is, again, this might be the podcast where I'm saying things that I probably won't repeat again. One, well done to Manchester United for Saturday. And two, well done to Jurgen Klopp for actually winning that Premier League. Because once you're in a title race, and obviously Slot as well, but once you're in a title race with Manchester City, they're owned by a state. I mean, look, we're now 600 million in 12 months. I think last January, they spent a whole load of money. Now they don't even want Mamouche anymore. You're dealing with a state who's consistently done. To win a league over that, and Pep as well, who is the best coach in the world, it's incredible. And I didn't give Liverpool their credit at the time because I was hating. But the reality is that Klopp was right. All of this stuff about, oh yeah, when you look at the players that Liverpool have bought, you're counting out on how many. On one hand, yes, it's Van Dijk. Oh my God, it's Alisson. And then forget last season or in the summer. I'm just talking about to topple that City team. They would just throw it at it. They'll throw money. It's just non-stop. It's consistently. And plus, you're adding on that Pep is one of the best, if not the best coach. So it's, for me, I have to take my hat off, because once you're in a title race with them, that's when you realize. And it's no shame that, look, is it 6 out of the last 7, or is it 6 out of the last 8, right? That they've won. And fine, you could put it down to whatever you want to put it down to. Obviously, Pep's the best manager, but it's a machine that to beat them, you need some very, very shrewd signings, fantastic coaching, luck, and team spirit. You can't just go up against them because you can't compete. You're talking about organizations, and then you're talking about a state. I can't believe you're going into this. But Ed, I hear it. People are saying, "Oh, if our team was in there, then." But like my boy Kanye says, I guess we'll never know. You know what I mean? So now it is. Listen, before I think Ed's trying to get a job at sea. I hear it, Ed, but make sure you get me my Ferrari as well once you're
yeah, that's not traditional.
No, because you want a car. You want a car with blood money. Look at this guy. Look at this guy.
I know. Quick turn, did it?
You turn a blind eye. You know?
Quick turn, exactly.
Oh, it was a gift. It was a gift. I didn't want it. I didn't want it. Yeah. I didn't want it. You know, my boy, come on. I couldn't say no. But nah, we need to move on. Listen, Tottenham Hotspur, look.
Sure.
I literally thought, look, the Europa League, I'm not going to discuss that anymore because you know my thoughts on that. But I literally thought last season, it couldn't get worse than last season. 17th, 22 defeats, 17th, the fourth worst team, so just above the relegation zone. They were just losing games for fun. 22 is ridiculous. I don't think they're going to beat that this season, so it is an improvement. But it is really, really, really bad. Like, it's that bad now that they're not even spinning anything now. It's that bad that one thing is sure about, not all Spurs, because there's some good Spurs. Listen, I've got a good Spurs supporter I see every Sunday. Shout out. So humble. Such a good Spurs fan. But for them...
Sorry?
Yeah, bro, calm. That's what I'm trying to... He must be an Arsenal supporter. He must be. But just calm. When I speak to him about football, norm. There's no silly agendas. There's no... But it is dire. Because this is back-to-back seasons of trash now. It's really, really, really bad. And you look at those fixtures and you think, right, we can get something here. West Ham at home. That's, you pray for these fixtures like, oh my God, because West Ham have been awful. And you let them come and do that. Bro, it's really, really, really bad for Tottenham Hotspur. It is toxic. And now it looks like everyone is calling on their managers to be sacked. Usually there's a section that will be, no, give him some time. They want him gone. And you're in a very bad situation where you've just sacked your manager. Look when Arsenal sacked George Graham. You sacked George Graham. And you know what? Pretty much similar, but for different reasons. It's because Arsene Wenger came in. But how can you sack your manager and then straight away the other one comes in? Premier League proven. He's not given any time. Apparently the football is negative. So last season, the football was just gun-ho football, no defense, no structure, just literally just gun-ho. You're losing 22. Now you've got someone who's a lot more pragmatic. He's been in the job 5 minutes. Like, he hasn't even been in there that long. It's been, 6 months, just over 7 months. Why don't you just... I know what they're saying. Oh, my God, look where we are. But you were in a worse position. Sometimes it has to get bad to get good. He just... Again, the football's dire. I want him to stay personally for my own personal reasons. Like I wanted Postecoglou to stay. But this sacking of managers is just... It's like a merry-go-round, and it's not getting any better. And losing at home to your rivals as well, West Ham, which are the real rivals of Spurs personally. So losing to them at West Ham is a shame. Ed, how long has this guy got, Frank? Because it looks like he has lost the fan base. Like, I don't know if it's the Arsenal Cup. I don't know if it's what they're saying it's the style of football that they don't like, but they didn't like Conte's style of football either. There's always something that they don't like. How long has he got, man?
It's game by game now. You
reckon he's got to that now?
Yeah, they gave him the vote of confidence. When anytime a team briefs the media saying, "Oh, we're standing by the manager," internally it's a bit long. He's lost the dressing room. He's lost the fans. I feel sorry for him in the sense that he's got a rotten injury list to contend with.
Yeah.
And Davies has just gone down now with a fractured ankle. That's him done for the season, I reckon. He's not, he's not a starter by any means, but that's experience, that's depth. So he's in trouble. He's in trouble, man. It's game by game. I think he'll do well in the Champions League. I don't know who they've got.
Dortmund.
Yeah, that's tough. That is tough. But the way they've been performing in the Champions League, it's been a bit of a shining light, saving grace, as it were. I think with the league form, yeah, it's dire. And I'm going to ask you guys a question. Were you surprised with the West Ham result? I certainly wasn't.
I was, bro.
I wasn't. I knew they'd lose. I knew
they'd really West Ham.
No, West Ham, because it was West Ham. I'll be honest with you. Some other, maybe other, but West Ham specifically have been awful to everyone's point, right? And as bad as Spurs are, but I thought they wouldn't be as awful as West Ham. That's how I put it in that aspect.
Agreed.
Especially when you look at the players they had on the pitch, you still think at home, big rivals. I thought they might sneak like a haram 1-0 win with some dodgy penalty, something like that. But yeah, you don't lose that.
No,
I did laugh as well. I'm not going to laugh.
The reason why I wasn't surprised is they've been poor at home. They've been poor on the road. They've just been a really, really, really poor side. And the type of team when everything that could go wrong goes wrong, it's just symptomatic of it's just a rotten season. They had a hefty injury list coming into the season anyway. Kulusevski had surgery in the summer. We don't know when he's going to come back. Madison done his knee in the summer.
That's two to be fair. Stars. Yeah, it's a big blow. Yeah, man.
These are things I have to contend with. Then they started the season all right. I know they got the win against Man City away, but they're kind of Man City's bogey team, to be fair. So it was kind of par for the course. But yeah, like you lose Kudus a couple of weeks ago. You sell Brendan Johnson to buy Conor Gallagher. He's ex-Chelsea. I know he went to Atletico, but that's not going to really, sit well with a section of the fan base because, why are you shopping at Chelsea for, or ex-Chelsea, with their history of hatred between the clubs. It just it's another year, another wasted year. And it looked promising because, like I said before, I thought Thomas Frank had earned the right to, manage at a high level, with his work done at Brentford. But now it looks like, and I said this a couple of weeks ago, it maybe looks like, as nice of a guy he is, and as much as credit you have to give him for, keeping Brentford afloat, was it actually Thomas Frank as a manager, or was it the system that he was benefiting from? Because if you look
that's harsh.
No. If you look at Brentford now, look at Keith Andrews. He was a set piece coach. Why are they in the top half of the table?
Do you know what it is? And I think that's harsh. And I hear it. And there's many people that agree. I think that's harsh because when you get a new manager, look at Patrick Vieira. You had Roy Hodgson that did a fantastic job at Palace year after year after year. Then the last year got a bit higgy, which it will do because he's overachieving. And then you got the new toy in, Patrick Vieira, and then you had that new bounce. Do you know what I'm saying? And then everyone was like, oh, hold on. This Vieira is this guy, we got to look out for that. And then it went down again. Now, look, Andrews has done great.
But they sold. Remember, Brentford sold all their guys.
No, no, it's true. But what I'm saying is that for Thomas Frank, you got to think about. They've been with us now. What is it? 6 seasons they've been in the league as well. That's an achievement anyway. Because we're so used to Brentford now being in the Premier League. But you got to remember when they came up. Remember, I had never seen Brentford in the Premier League. I was just like, why are Arsenal going away to Brentford?
We lost 2-0 as well that first game as well.
Yeah. But I'm hearing you, Ed. I'm hearing you. But I just think he's been there for so long. Some things can get stale. A lot of managers don't stay there as long. He got them into the Championship, got them into the Premier League, and he has secured them in the Premier League.
No, I don't think he went stale at Brentford. He earned the right, but what I'm saying is he that good of a manager, or is it the circumstances at Spurs that are making him look even worse? Because what I'm trying to say is, with Brentford, I really feared for them this season. I said, okay, cool, they've sold Mbeumo, they sold Tony a couple seasons ago. They're selling their top guys. They sold Wissa.
Yep.
And then I looked at who they were bringing in or who they had left. I wasn't sure, but they're improving. And it looks like, there's certain clubs where the system is king. So look at Brighton. How many managers have gone to Brighton and looked to cut above, and then they've left, and it's like, were we sure it was the club, or was it the manager making the club look good? Let's look at Graham Potter. He looked like a world beater. Remember when Graham Potter was at
Brighton?
They were saying next England manager. Remember there was calls for him to maybe be the next England manager. He went to Chelsea. The level was too high. Went to West Ham, and again, West Ham is a rubbish club, but he couldn't do anything with them. Do you know what I mean? So it's a situation where, remember Southampton for a while, when they were in the Prem, they went through 4 or 5 managers, and it was only until like Harson who got there, it started going left. Remember, they had other managers, and they were looking good. Remember, Poch came from there, he looked good, he had them in Europe.
Yeah, Poch came from there, but that's the thing with Thomas Frank. I think you said that, look, he's gone to Spurs. Look, I'm not being biased, but Spurs, when you go there, of course you gotta. It's an English club. It's a big English club. It's in London. They're in the Champions League, so it's going to be attractive to people. But as a manager, you've got to look at what has happened there before. I always say, just do a little check. You've had guys like Jose Mourinho that has won everywhere he has gone. There's he's won everywhere. You've got Antonio Conte. He's won the league. He's won the FA Cup with Chelsea. He's won everywhere he's gone. And those two just could not get it over the line there. Not only that they couldn't get over the line, it actually turned toxic. And you actually had Spurs supporters, not all, you had Spurs supporters telling those guys how things should be done. After that, as any other manager that goes there, I don't feel sorry for you when it goes left, because you've got two, especially one of the greatest ever, that the fans are telling them what should be happening and how they should be playing, and we're not happy with it. And you're thinking, right, who's the winner here? Who's the parent? That's how you feel. Who's telling who what to do now? Who's telling who what time you should go to bed? I don't really care what's been happening in this style of play. You want to win? Do you want to stop being mocked? Do you stop want to be in the second club, or you know, they're the whipping boys? Obviously, Chelsea, Arsenal, always trying to mug you off. I'm here because I'm a winner. Listen to what I'm saying. This is how you should do things, and they've got an answer for him. Every one of them. That's why when they say, "Oh, this manager's rubbish," I'm like, "You said the same thing on with Conte. You turned on him. You turned on Jose Mourinho. So, who is the right guy for the job? You've had 2 winners. Now you've got Thomas Frank, a nice guy, a gentleman. It probably isn't the Spurs' favorite, to be fair. I'll give you that, Ed. I can't remember many Spurs supporters thinking, yeah, that's who I want. But he is a staple Premier League. I think it was the stability that he built with Brentford. But listen, you're right. Andrew's doing a great job at the moment. Let's see what they do next season. But I do think Thomas Frank deserves a lot more respect than what he's getting.
Oh, 100%. 100%. I'm with you. Go on, Naeem.
Go off.
I was just going to say, because we like Thomas Frank, and he's a nice guy. He's one of the nice guys in football. You know, he's very affable on the touchline, and he gives good post-match interviews, and he seems like a nice guy, especially at Brentford. All the players respected him, and he seemed like a really, really good man manager, right? So when you see someone that has brought, you know, like you said, a Brentford up into the big leagues and kept them there, you're thinking, okay, cool, you deserve, when it's your time, to maybe get a Spurs or a Villa, or maybe even sometimes take a punt and even go get a United. Now United, that's a really, really big drop and a really, really big step up here. But meritocracy, right? When you do well, you get rewarded with greater opportunity, right? But I just can't help but think maybe we might have jumped the gun. I do believe he was worthy of the job, but then when you look at his Brentford teams, they were pragmatic. They were very, sum of all their parts, and they weren't like this free-flowing,
But is that his fault? This is another thing. Obviously, we'll go to Naeem, but this is another thing with Manchester United and Amorim. It's like you're hiring someone to come in, and that's where they've made their bread and butter, and that's their style. And you're saying, all right, can you come and manage my club? But once you're here, actually, no, we don't want you to do what you were successful at and what made you stand out. That's like going for a job and saying, oh, you done this? Oh, Naeem, fantastic. Right. Good. Okay. Yeah, you're good with analytics. You're good with numbers. Fantastic. We're seeing, okay, you're great. Spreadsheet. Look at the forecast. Right. Yeah, look, we need you to start in audio and TV. So look, can you put up this stuff? Bro, is this what you brought me here to do? You're changing that. Oh, yeah, you need to adapt. But you got me because of my style. And Thomas Frank has always been pragmatic. He's always had good wingers, and he's always had a striker or 2 strikers who obviously had Tony. He's had Ollie Watkins. Yeah. So, yeah. And now all of a sudden you go and get a pragmatic manager, and now he comes to Spurs and you're saying that the football is awful. That's his default. He needs to make sure that they become solid and then go from there. Naeem, what's your thoughts on
there's not much to say. I mean the result stinks, doesn't it? Let's be fair. I think that says everything. I think Thomas Frank, it's only it is the thing is with him is that I think, is it personality? I look at those managers you've mentioned before. Andrew got a bit more time because he called everyone mate and it was high-fiving all the press, right? Conte and Jose have got legacy behind them, so they've naturally got a bit of time and a bit of charisma around them as well. In comparison, Frank just comes in, wants to do his job. I don't know what his backroom staff's like. Is the job maybe slightly bigger than he thought it'd be? And does he surround? Because obviously Brentford, with all due respect to Brentford, smaller run club. There wasn't obviously they didn't have like an academy. They got rid of so they didn't have a lot of additional coaches, etc. Is it something at Spurs where he hasn't surrounded himself with the right people potentially that can help support him in this team? I think the injuries have killed him, especially Madison, Kulusevski specifically. He was always their outlet. Kudus getting injured, and then let's be fair, Callum Wilson has been. We talk about signings. We talk about a lot of signings throughout the year, and we quick jump on a lot of players, myself included. I've said, but Xavi Simons for what, 70 million? He's going to be the next. He's been really poor. Let's not. Keepers, they goalkeeper. When he first started for Carrick, he looked decent. I thought good shot stopper. Got an Italian squad. He is losing powers.
I told you. I remember people were going. I've seen the film before. I saw him and I thought, fine.
I would like
mini Ney all again. It's you're seeing shot stops and you're thinking, rare. This is probably one of the best.
Spurs have gone back to where, in that respect, where they were pre-Pochettino. To be fair, very inconsistent, mid-table-ish. Of course, I think one time, Spurs fans, and it goes with it for a lot of clubs. You got peaks and troughs, and Spurs, I think they're still living in. We still got United fans talking about York and Cole up top, right? Let's not forget. So I'm not going to just give them Spurs fans, but they had a period of time where they were quite blessed. They signed Modric at the right time. Dele Alli had a little. I think he started burning bright very quickly. Kane was part of that. If you look at a lot of the players they had coming, Bale came through, and no one saw Bale become the player they wanted. So I think they were blessed with a bit of a Bollywood storyline. They got really excited. They got Champions League final, and there was a lot of this expectation around them. That's not where they're meant to be. Where they are now is what they are, unfortunately. I think a lot of the fan base have got that frustration, I think, because they've seen how good it could get. They're close to winning the title. But then you reap what you sow. You throw a game at home against the Manchester clubs, things go round. And I hate to say it, but I think sometimes you've got to take a step back, and wherever you come from, enjoy that period of time, but you're going back in place where really you are as a club. I hate to say it, mid-table, and win the odd cup here and there, because that's where they were when we were growing up. And it sounds like maybe the quicker they get used to that, then they'll give Frank. I think they're going to give Frank the rest of the season, though. There's no one else there.
I agree. I think they should give Frank until the end of the season. However, obviously taking into consideration the injuries, I know they're saying this Dyer and stuff like that, that sometimes it gets that way. I would say one thing, though, a bit of positivity. They're 9 points off top 4.
Yeah.
How crazy is that?
It says everything. Yeah.
I looked at it and I thought, oh my God, you're 15th. This is absolutely ridiculous. They're 9 points of top 4. So when you put it into perspective, people are saying that, and we'll move on to the Arsenal game after. People are saying that Arsenal could have got 9 points clear, and now it's 7. So City are still in there with a chance. So if City are still in there with a chance to make it 7 and 9 is 2 points off. Now, I know form, you're probably looking at City if it could yeah, but that's the difference. They win 2 on a bounce, and then they can improve things. I think it's a huge missed opportunity for Spurs. I think obviously sacking Postecoglou, I thought losing 22 games, maybe people who said, look, let's give him one more year because he won. Maybe so. But I think it's a missed opportunity because they're back in the Champions League. I think Ed's made a fair point. Let's see how they do there. If they come out of this Champions League, then that's it. That's the season done. Then I can't see them getting top 4. I'll be surprised if they do. Maybe they can try to push for a European place. But I think it's a missed opportunity because you're just coming back off the Europa League win. You've got a trophy. You're back in the Champions League. You're trying to make the right signings. And there was even, little whispers, which I knew was never going to happen. But you know what? Maybe if we can make top 4, maybe we can tempt Kane back, and maybe he can. That is gone now. If there was any chance that was going to happen, that is gone now. And it really seems like a missed opportunity. Was it the wrong appointment? Should they have stuck with Postecoglou and said, no, you know what, you've won us a trophy. You can't keep losing this many games. Let's see what happens. But it's a very, very dangerous place to be once you've spent the last 12 months talking about, or the last 8 months of that season talking about, it's a disgrace. The way we play, we're too open. We concede too many goals. We're too easy to beat. And then you go to the complete opposite scale and you're too pragmatic. You're not creating enough chances. It's pretty bad. And that is an indictment on the ownership to a certain extent, because this is the guy that you hired.
Well, Levy's gone now, so we can't blame Levy.
No, he has gone, but you look at it and you think that's pretty bad now, because you've gone from Mr. All out attack, no defense, to now Mr. Pragmatic, and that is
I've got a bad feeling. I'll tell you what, I'm going to call this now. You know, it's going to end up then. I don't know why I'm saying it's Glasner. We won't talk about, we haven't, briefly, Palace is obviously my engagement. Glasner's announced he's leaving end of the season. I know, but I can see that happening.
That's not a bad shout, That's not a bad shout.
Glasner, trophy winner, turned his team competitive.
I can see if he's got opportunity for you. I know, obviously, we're getting we're not getting excited, but some of the
United fans
getting excited with Carrick. But let's wait to the end of the season, because I'm very sure that's another job that Glasner might look at and think, right, I've gone from Frankfurt Europa League, I've come to England with Palace, I've won them an FA Cup, I've won them a Charity Shield. I deserve my goal at Manchester United.
Maybe we'll see. But I can see him at Spurs. I can actually see him with those players they've got there as well. You see what he did? Yeah,
that's true.
It's crazy. I saw on Twitter that Spurs were trying to push a move on for Wharton, so that could make sense. That's not a bad shout at all. I think with Spurs, and obviously he's talking about Spurs is quite nauseating, but they don't know what they want to be as a club, and that's why the problems always arise, because they fancy themselves as a big club. They really do. They've got a fantastic support, fantastic stadium. But remember on the show when we were on radio, I always said they never do what is necessary, what is needed to go ahead and become a big club. So you get the stadium, but they won't go and try and get the best in class player-wise. They don't produce.
Think they can, though, Ed.
No, of course, but they don't even try, because it's like,
I think they have tried. They tried to get.
They haven't got the pull, though. But then historically,
that's the thing, though, Ed. This is why it's a bit of a. And you made a great point about obviously the fan base and the stadium and stuff like that. But it's a weird one, because I know there's a lot of talk in London all the time. Of course, there's a lot of clubs here and a decent standard. But they're always going to be behind on a transfer. If Chelsea come in and then Arsenal come in and they come in, bro, you can chuck your money at him. The player will think twice and think, right, I'm going to go.
I hear it. But, okay, let's use as an example, yeah? This is what I mean, but they don't do what's necessary. Remember, we didn't even want that guy. It was only due to an injury to Havertz. If Havertz doesn't get injured, he goes to Spurs. But the reason why you got to blame Spurs is they dilly-dallied. Wrap the signing up. Because every once in a while, a team like Spurs can nab somebody. It's just timing.
Do you think that's down to them? Because I looked at that as well, and my argument, I agree at that time. I was like, they should have wrapped this up. But you've got to think as well. I was speaking to another Spurs fan and said that it could have been wrapped up, but Eze just kept that slight.
That's what his cousin said. His cousin came out. His cousin, his cousin came out. His cousin, he's a comedian, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. And he came out and saying that whatever you heard and that was close to signing was never happened. Like,
this is what I'm saying, Ed.
So, obviously, we don't know. I think a prime example is there's been like players like Willian when he went to Chelsea, that they had him thereabout, and Dilly Dallas another good example. I think Ed is a good example, but I think they don't pay the wage. They don't pay the wages, right? I think that's one thing.
And that's what I'm saying. They won't pay the wages, so it's not an attractive proposition to stay in London and play for Spurs, especially when you know you can get double at Chelsea, or well, not Chelsea, but Chelsea back in the day, you get a lot more Arsenal. But what I'm trying to say is, them as a club, they need to fork out an identity. There's too many mishmash, weird sort of. They're always in limbo. Until you block out an identity of what you want to do, where you want to go as a club, you'll always be in this perpetual cycle of pain and sadness.
Well,
they don't produce even talent-wise. Who, apart from Kane, what's the last bad boy to come out of the academy? Like, at least West Ham, they might not be proper cold players, but remember, they were looked at as an academy, especially in the 90s with Joe Cole, Lampard, and that goal.
Now they do bring through youngsters.
And even now, Freddie Potts' son, and they've got a couple guys coming through, and they always favour the academy. Spurs don't even favour the academy. Like, I know they got that Mikey Moore guy, but they don't.
Where's he gone, Mikey Moore, by the way? He was an ex-superstar coming through, and it was him and Wanyeri, innit? Those are the two.
What I'm saying is, they could go to the academy and pump money into the academy and try and maybe unearth some gems and see that way, but they don't do that. So it's just like until Spurs and the hierarchy and the board say, okay, cool, this is what we want to be as a club. And this is what we're going to do. This is going to be our, our manifesto, our 5-point plan, and XYZ. You're still going to be stuck because it's like the fans will say, okay, cool. We've got a brand new stadium. Beyonce comes every year. Michael Jackson's going to get dug out of his grave and he's going to perform his greatest hits in 2027 and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. That's cool. You're making money hand over fist commercially off the pitch, but it's not translating to football success. You will go and get XY managers, XYZ, every manager under the sun. You went for the, win now manager. That didn't go well. You sacked your greatest manager league-wise in Poch for whatever reason. You arm the new managers, the Contes and Mourinho's with more money. So you spit in the face with the guy that got you to the Champions League final. You didn't give him money. You let him run his team into the ground. You didn't want to back him. Then you sack him.
But Ed, you're saying that about success, but they won the Europa League. They dropped the trophy. This is the thing. Look, when
the first trophy in 17 years.
That's what I said. This is Spurs' position.
No, it's true. It was. But what my point is, there is, and I get it now. People say that they just want this instant, like, you just got to grab a trophy, and then what? Like, what are we saying? Because because we have to be realistic with what we're asking of this team. Okay, you should have gone on and be more successful. But what trophy? The Premier League is never going to happen. They're not winning the Champions League. Yeah, so
the Europa League was probably ideal.
Yeah,
you got the FA Cup as well. Then you've got a few other.
No, but look, that's not my argument. My argument
look
is
at the teams that's picked up. Okay, you've picked up a Europa League, and I told you it is all about trophies, but you have to look at context. With me, I always look at someone's league performance and I can really see what sort of team you are. In cups, you can get lucky, but they've won the Europa League. Palace, they won the FA Cup last year. Their manager wants to go now. Can you imagine? That is the highest that Palace has ever been. And look already, not even 12 months later. This is why I understand why people say, look, you got to pick up trophies. It's just important. It's the heartbeat of the club. Yes and no, because you do it, but then the next season you're now in limbo. How are you in limbo? Why are Palace and Spurs in limbo?
What I said though, that's nothing to do with what I said. Yeah. I said the club need to figure out who they want to be, and then they can go forward. I'm not saying
I agree on that one.
Trophies is cool, but I'm saying, what do they want to be? Because you want to be a big club, but you're not doing enough to be a big club. So, okay, are you going to be the club that gets Elise in early, gets Eze in early, like a Palace, and then build on that? Are you going to be the club that's going to pump money to the academy to build on that? Are you going to be a club that's going to pay the wages to attract certain players? Are you going to do that? You're not doing anything, and there's always going to be an issue until you figure out who you want to be. Okay, remember us? When we moved away from Highbury to the Emirates, it's going to be a lean period. So what did we do? We went and tried to get the best young players and build with them. We'd pour money into the academy to build through the academy. So you unearth the Wilshere. Then you'd buy the best young players or the highly coveted players. You get an Oxlade-Chamberlain for 12 million. You buy a Walcott for 5 million back in 2006. Ramsey, you beat Manchester United signing. And then what you do? Go to the French market and get a Diaby, and then go and get Adebayor before he becomes the next big top dog. They're not doing that. They're not even scouring. I know there's more competition, but they're not doing certain things to give them an edge, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I hear that. I also think that we will move on. I'll let you end it. I hear that, but we did go 9 years without winning the trophy. So I know we did that. We went down that route, but for Arsenal, it was the leanest period that I've ever seen. We won nothing.
But again, we knew we had to buckle up. We knew that we had to pay those loans. The stadium was going to pay for itself. We didn't have a benefactor. So we knew, okay, our edge is, let's try and win something with the best young players, with Fabregas and Nasri's on the man. Unfortunately, we didn't do it. But at least we set out our stall and said, okay, cool. For this period of time, this is what we're on. And as soon as we paid off the stadium, you go and buy Ozil.
And we had and to be fair, we had Arsene Wenger, and they haven't got a manager. No, I'm with you. They have to go. Naim, end it, and then we'll move on, man.
I think you all made valid points. I think Spurs, Ed made some really good points about what they really want to be moving forward. I liken it back to where they were before Poch.
Mm-hmm.
Poch was a bit of a smokescreen in terms of where the
standards. Had a good run.
Yeah, who did?
Redknapp got they were looking good
within reason, but that was the start of it, and then Poch took it on. But then since Poch has gone, it's been a bit crashy. But I do think they're hampered with the stadium still, isn't it? They've got their bills there. As much money as they're pulling into that stadium,
it's going to service the stadium, isn't it? So
it's going to service the stadium. So they're in that position Arsenal were when there was some of those fantastic football players that we've seen grace the Emirates. So yeah, look, they'll this will be them for the rest of the season, for the next couple of years potentially. But if you're them, either back Frank or give a young up and coming manager and go, we're going to stick our stalwarts, we're going to play a young team, whatever. This is how we're going to do it. Give us a couple of years, and I think most fans will back it if you just say, to Ed's point, what we're going to do. It's a bit of a soap opera, but long may it continue.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
Right. So we are moving on to Nottingham Forest versus Arsenal, a 0-0 draw. And this, let's just add context to this. Earlier in the day, I thought about the fixture with Manchester United City, and I thought, I think Man United can get a draw. What I hoped for, I got a whole lot more with a 2-0 win. So I'm sitting there thinking, oh my God, 6 points. We've got now the chance to go away to Forest. Let's just get the win. Let's really put our foot on the neck now. Let's not drop any more opportunities. Let's just go out there and do what we need to do and get the 3 points. And I'm not going to lie, from the first whistle, I was still nervous about it. Why am I nervous when my team has got the chance to go 9 points clear? Why would I be nervous about that? And that tells you everything that we're seeing, is that they just did not have the killer instinct on Saturday. And there was so many missed chances. So disappointing at the time. Let's use context there, because at the time was Saturday evening. And I'm thinking, okay, the Villa game is to come, which they ended up losing. So to be fair, Arsenal, lucky Arsenal. Could have been better, but lucky. Because those two teams could have caught up or closed the gap, or we could have gone to 9 points. We have increased the lead. It was 6 before the weekend. Now it's 7. But you do look at that and think that's a little bit of a missed opportunity there, because once you put 9 points on the board, City and Villa, they're looking at that thinking, wow, they're going to have to lose 3 in a row. That's the way that we're going to have to pull this back. And then we also have to win our games. And I looked at that and I thought, there's something not right about this. I think the Liverpool game, I thought, fine. 2 0-0s in a Premier League title race. Not good enough, really. I think I looked at the starting lineup and the front three did really worry me. I thought it was just a step too far. Now, look, Saka, I'm reading that he had a little bit of a knock, so he didn't really want him to play the whole game. That's fine. You started Noni. I know there's no goals and assists with Noni, and I hear that, and that's obviously something that you two are probably going to elaborate on. However, on the other side, I thought, at least play Trossard, though, because we need goals here tonight. So you now have decided to play Noni, no goals and assists, and then start Martinelli. I thought we had gone past this, starting Martinelli at Arsenal Football Club. He's made it very clear what his role is this season, and he's played it well. Comes off the bench. I think we were away to Sevilla, go. Comes off the bench against Bayern Munich, go. Manchester City comes off the bench, go. Atletico Madrid. Look, this is what we're kind of used to. I think Martinelli will only start those Champions League games at home if it's against weaker opposition. But to go and start him, I just thought, Arteta, you've seen this film before, man, and you can't have any complaints about that. That chance was shocking. Shocking. I think I saw someone just head go down. I don't know if Rice turned around and how do you miss that, Martinelli? He had time to open his body and put it on his right. But once that miss, I thought, okay, this is going to be really difficult for us. I just thought we were really bad. I thought toothless performance. There was chances. I thought the only two that could probably hold their head up high is the two centre-backs. I thought everyone else was so far, yeah. Timber's playing out of position, so I can't be too hard on him. But we didn't concede fair enough. But poor. Another opportunity lost. I think a lot of Arsenal fans were down in the dumps. That's why we've got to thank Everton again for what happened. But before I send it to you guys, because I'm sure it's going to be a long way, the only thing is that we got off lightly. The fact that the other two didn't win. I'm looking at this game now, and it seems that every single game seems to be one of the biggest. My friend said that game against Forest was his biggest of the season, because I thought, why? Because now, because we could really lay down a marker now and say, listen, we're here now. You need to come and chase us, and we're going to take full control of this Premier League title race. But I think that game against Manchester United is huge. That's one of the biggest for me now, because Man United are on the up after that win, but we're at home. I'm convinced that Man City are playing Wolves. I think that's a foregone conclusion. I think they're going to slap up Wolves. They might put up a good fight, but I think they'll beat Wolves. So it goes to 4 points. However, if Arsenal beat Manchester United on Sunday, which I hope we do, I think we will, we have to start firing. But if we do that, then it stays at 7. And City have got a tough run now. They're away at Spurs. I know Spurs are trash, but that's the bogey team. And they're away at Anfield. Again, Liverpool aren't great, but I can't see City, this current City team, going there and marching on Anfield. I think for the Liverpool supporters, I
said I can't see them getting 6 out of 6. No.
Yeah, and the Liverpool supporters.
It was how Liverpool did actually play against Burnley. I mean, they had 30-odd chances, didn't they?
Yeah.
As much as they drew, so.
But you two have made a fair point, or Ed made a point before. There's a few games that you don't lose at Manchester United. You don't want to lose against Liverpool at home, and you definitely don't want to lose against City. And that's Liverpool supporters. They haven't forgotten their battles with Man City. Just because they haven't won, they're not going to win the Premier League this season. There's still a bit of stance like, look, don't go out like that.
Yeah, they're still champions.
So I'm looking at that and thinking, we can pull away again. And that's how important this game is on Sunday, for us to get the full 3 points. Not dropping any points, just to beat, your arch enemy. We know Manchester United are our enemy. Just to beat them, they're on the rise. But what is worrying is the forwards. And I sent this into the group before. And everybody likes to pick and choose who they're going to blame this year.
It's Cockroach's fault, man. Remember, that's the line.
Everything is. But games since their last Premier League goal: Martinelli, 13 games. Madueke, 13. Saka, 8 Premier League games since his last goal. Marino, 7. Eze, 6. He hasn't been playing, though, by the way. Gyökeres, 5. Trossard, 3. And Jesus, 3. So where are the goals coming from? I'm looking at this and thinking, we are top by 7 points. And I'm looking at the attackers here. We can't buy a goal. This is not championship form. And the rest of these attackers have to really look at the midfield and the defense and say, do you know what, you're pulling us through here. Usually it's the other way around, isn't it? We'll be like, all right, yeah, bro, we'll give you the ball, you're pulling us through. Or I've got you out of trouble there. Is that bad that when we went away to Bournemouth, we had our best centre-back, world-class centre-back, Gabriel. He made an absolute howler. That back pass was shocking. Do you know who got us out of jail? It's usually, when it's City, it's usually you'll see Diaz kiss Haaland or kiss the boy in the back and they're like, oh, thank you for that. It was him that got us out of trouble. Do you know who made it 2-1? It was our central midfield player, Rice. So my concern is that this needs to stop Arsenal forward. I don't know if it's an Arteta thing. I don't know if it's a confidence thing. I don't know what is going on. But what I do know is that they need to fix up.
It's a Gyökeres thing. It's his fault.
Yeah,
he's not good enough. He's crap. So it's his fault because it's never Arteta's fault. It's never his fault. You can't say nothing about him in it. He doesn't do nothing. He's not ruthless enough. And I mean, he is. He's ruthless to the people doesn't like. If Eze makes a mistake, sit down for 4 or 5 games. But your captain, he's been smelling for a long while. He plays week in, week out. I got told that he's the top creator in Europe by some Greek guy. I don't know his name, but we got told that he's a top creator in Europe. And I looked at the charts, don't see his name there. Don't see his name there, man. Don't see his name there. And yeah, the game earlier in the podcast, I was happy that I said United work for us. There are employees, but do Arsenal work for themselves? You've got your arch rival in Man City down and out, and you think, okay, cool. I know Forest, they're a plucky side, but we're Arsenal. We're better than them. We should go there and lay down a marker, but we won't, and we didn't. And it's just frustrating because it's like everyone and their mum is trying to hand us this title, and at every juncture when we could really create separation, and I'm complaining as if it's only 2 points and it's not 7. But for me, when your rivals are dropping points, we need to be more ruthless. We need to go for the jugular swiftly, take them out. Instead, we will toil, and Martinelli will miss a sitter, and move on and make sure you create more separation, because we need this league. We need to win this league. And I believe we're going to be there. I believe we're going to win this league, because the chasing pack, I don't trust City to go on a run. I don't trust Villa to do what they need to do. But we're not ruthless enough. And it's just frustrating, because that game really should have been a game where it's like, okay, cool. You need to show City that, this ain't 2014, 2015, 16, 17, where you can go and run 10, 8, 9 games off. No. Like, we're here now, and we need to show. So, yeah, very frustrating. Like Nob said, the front three didn't make sense. Yeah, it's just annoying. And again, context is still 7 points. But when your rivals drop points, you need to capitalize. Because if this was City when they were really, really good a couple of years ago, they make that 9 points. They make that 9 points. They actually go and smack the hell out of Forest. Really do that and create more doubt and think, okay, cool, how can we, there's nothing we can do. They're too good. We are not showing that we are too good. We're showing that we're good. And like you said, it's our system, it's our defense, it's our midfield, it's our goalie. But the attack, man, the attack is letting us down. It stinks. And again, we know it's got Carrick's fault. We do. We know it's his fault. He should never been bought. All the headlines. He's the worst striker since whatever. And, out of 1,000 minutes, he's, every metric, and he's bottom barrel, yeah? But the attack as a unit, yeah, there's always been question marks about the attack under Arteta. But you can't blame Arteta, because, he's restored the feeling. We're competitive. Remember where we were before? The culture, it was in the pits. So, yeah, I can't blame, Arteta for not being able to, have a stellar attack. Because, he changed the culture at the club. He's done a lot, man. So, he's my favorite manager. I love him. And I'm happy, man. So, But before I go, though. Madueke, talk to me. Because you was telling me I was being too harsh. Ed, you're too intense. You're too horrible. And you're this and you're that.
Who said that?
You, man, last week. I was being nasty to Madueke, innit?
Is it? You must have been in my group chat, did I?
I missed that. I will refer what I said in the WhatsApp. He's all special effects at the moment.
Please, tell me.
I mean, me? Oh no!
No. You two. This is your production. Please let me know.
I know there was no difference to what I said. That his end product needs a massive bit of work. I think there's some mishearing going on here. However, I will say, for what, no goals, no assists in the league, there's a lot of special effects around it. He gets himself in the right positions. He goes a bit brain dead, and same thing we said. It's his final ball's been an issue. But I'm not going to be here and shut on all the Arsenal players. I think at the end of the day, it was a poor performance. But this has been them the whole season. I've said this, I think, weeks ago. Give me a Premier League game that Arsenal played. Bar Spurs, I think you got jumped in. End to end, had a really good performance. There's been patches, literally. They play with half an hour, and this is what happens. I think I'll just go back. I think Arteta's got to blame for the weekend. You don't play against a low block like that. You don't play Martinelli. I think you both made a great point about that. and Trossard should have played. But I think the elephant in the room, I think Eddie mentioned it, but we talk about blame Gyökeres, of course, is Odegaard. I forgot he was playing on the weekend.
What? The captain? You can't blame the captain. There's two
Well,
people.
To be fair, I think Odegaard, and I've been very critical, I think Odegaard has been poor. I know he's had flashes this season. However, he got subbed off at 56 minutes.
And look better, and Arsenal look better afterwards.
And I do think that is telling. That for me is telling. And I know obviously Ed will say no, but I do think that's telling. I think I've seen this film before. And
he starts against United. He'll start against United.
He might do, but that for me, yeah, I looked at that and I know Arteta said he just needed to do something different. But as captain, I'm just expecting more. I think the stats are being added on, progressive passes and all that stuff. I'm expecting more. I'm looking at that and I'm thinking to myself, if Arsenal supporters are literally licking their lips at 2 p.m. in the afternoon thinking, wow, we've got a goal there, I don't really think there needs to be any more G'ing up going on. I think that Odegaard has to take this by the scruff of the neck and say, listen, I'm going to make something happen here. We need to keep going, because it was just very... Yeah, I do think it was a missed opportunity. But look, in hindsight, one thing I would say though, Naim, is that last season, Liverpool also had this very iffy run that we're doing. But the other issue is we didn't capitalize. Do you remember? Every time they drew, and this was from December to maybe Feb, they had a hickey part as well, They were moving a bit mad. I think Newcastle drawing. You're thinking, right, now we've got to, let's hold minute, but we just kept drawing when they did. So it looks like this Premier League, let's be fair, I know I want to run away with the league. And I know I look at certain games, I'm like, we've got to win. But I'm looking at the other 19 teams. Everyone is beating everyone. It is a tough league. I keep hearing this rubbish that, everyone's rubbish this season. That's why I asked.
No,
but I can say that for every single Premier League campaign that's ever done, it said, the reason why this team won it. However, it's difficult, this Premier League, to win. It is difficult. Every game you need to fight for it. But I think we can all agree is when you got an opportunity to go 9 clear,
you take it. You
better take it, man. No matter what way you want to chop it up, man. You can chop it up with it's Gyökeres' fault. You can chop it up that Arteta.
It's a team. At the end of the day, there's 11 players, right? More than when they come off the bench. Declan Rice said it, didn't he? What did he say at the end? He said it himself at the end about the performance.
We always do it.
Yeah, and
we
don't score early. We knew what was going to happen. We've seen the movie before, to your point. But
we should have scored early. That's a tap in for Martinelli. I thought,
but we didn't. But for one chance, we should be scoring. Martinelli missed his absolute set. I'm not going to.
Yeah, Marino, that was a big chance.
That should not be the excuse for us not to beat Forest just because of Martinelli. We're meant to be.
Marino should have finished that chance. Obviously, Saka's header.
Oh, it was good.
One thing that we haven't discussed, and I think that's probably where the club has moved, is the penalty. It's very strange because I've seen other penalties and the Arsenal fan base have crashed out. I think I was so angry with the performance and us not taking advantage that I've pretended that I didn't see that penalty. Now, I don't care how rubbish Arsenal have played. One thing I'm fine not to discuss the penalty. That's one thing. But what I'm not going to accept, and I will go into a debate, is if anybody tries to gaslight me and say, that's just the way it is, or I can say, it's a handball in the box. I don't want to hear it.
He said himself. He called himself.
He's called himself. It wasn't given head. Yeah. Cool. It's not given. That's what I can live with. What I'm not going to live with is be patronized and told, nah, that's not a penalty. That because
no.
I don't want to hear any rubbish.
That and that's rubbish. What I would say is, I don't know whether it's under Arteta. I know he's blameless. He's the Messiah. He's, like I said, he brought us back into contention. Why do we always leave it to chance? It always feels like it's too marginal. It's too fine margin football, and it's if you're out of sight, you can forgive that penalty not being given. But what you will see is his acolytes will be like, "Oh, we got robbed," and yeah, you might have got robbed, but why is it you always need a favor? You always leave it to chance. Do what you need to do, because again, the acolytes will say this is the best squad we've had in years, and you know the attack's great, and you know we've got the best centre backs in the world. We've got Declan Rice is world class, and all sorts. You know, top creator in chief in Odegaard, but it's 0-0 and a penalty isn't given, and now you've been robbed. But we're meant to be really, really good, so we should go to Forest, who aren't the best side. I know they're at home and they're a plucky side, but like I said in the beginning of the segment, we're Arsenal. We're infinitely better than Forest. So it shouldn't be, you know, a missed handball by, you know, VAR and the ref, or, you know, a foul in the box and that's not given. It's always too situational. It's always one thing we're relying on to try and get a goal. And it's just like, no. If you create constantly, because like you said, I don't think we create enough. And then we definitely don't score enough. And I know it's Gyökeres's fault, because again, like you said, remember he had that chance where he was through on goal, and then, you know, Murillo gets back and he blocks it. So again, that stinks, and it's his fault, and it'll always be his fault. So yeah, you have to blame Gyökeres. It's his fault. Like I said, that's the party line. He's the one that, you know, we was bought to score the goals and not scoring. But with the margins, we always try and leave it to chance. Like I said, it's if it's not a penalty where we're whining about, it's a foul in the box we didn't get. And no, we should be out of sight. We should be able to be scoring at least 2 or 3 goals with the weapons we bought and the players that he's coached and the players that we've got in our disposal. So, you know, it's just frustrating all around, man. But, you know,
I definitely agree. But look, as I said, it's 7. Look, it's 7 points still. And I think we've got off lightly. Listen, we're going to end this pod, but we have to talk about Senegal AFCON champions. Yeah. I mean, what a game. And what a game is, that's theatre right there. And I know I understand people will say, you know, it was distasteful, Senegal walking off the pitch. The disallowed goal from Senegal, which I see this in the Premier League every day. Every game, I don't know what was wrong with that. Then, you know, the Diaz penalty, which the referee just ran off and carried on with the game. And then there was a lot of complaining from Diaz. And the next thing, I think I'm going to go to the screen to go and see that. You knew he was going to give it then.
100%.
The excuses of corruption of Morocco. Then you got the coach who, may I add this, you know, the continent of Africa, at the end of the day, there's always some underlying or backhanded compliments about that. But let me tell you something about that Senegal coach, because I've seen his team crash it on England. Yep. It has been a very long time that I've looked at that and thought, he's a bloody good coach, man. Like, he has got a great set of players, but I watch Senegal, and there's other teams I've watched and I think, oh Lord, like, there's some wild moments here. But I actually watched them, and they are very, 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 very good. And he deserves a lot of credit. It's been a long time that I've even mentioned the coach. It's been a long time. Like, I've actually just said, listen, sometimes that coach could be the difference here. I loved it. And I know people will complain and say, he told his players to come off the pitch. God forbid that he's passionate. God forbid that he sees that the team had been wronged. I mean, they didn't stay in the dressing room, but I actually like that from the manager. I know people say, oh, you just can't walk off. Why can't you? You're not supposed to break someone's leg in football. You're not supposed to do dirty tackles in football. But apparently people say it's part of the game. But for some reason, you can't have a hissy fit. Why not? What? No, honestly, why not? Because it happens up and down. We have this is the one thing that is really I don't like, and where football is going, is that we can't have hissy fits.
The policing of emotions, yeah?
Yeah, brother, spot on. We, as humans, this is what makes us human. You can go into my home or someone else's home, and the home is mayhem. You've got wild kids just screaming and girls fighting and siblings fighting and the mum and dad and it's just normal. This is a passionate game. Like you want these managers, because they're professional now, they're not going out effing, but he's upset. And at the end of the day, I thought that was robbery. I thought that's a legitimate goal. He thought the world was on his shoulders at Senegal, rightfully so. You're in
enemy territory.
Yeah, you're just thinking. And
they've got history as well, Morocco, in terms of some of the nonsense off the pitch a bit as well.
Oh, yeah.
So they have. So you can understand it was the perfect storm towards the end. It just goal was disallowed for no reason. Dodgy penalty and last minute kick of the game, basically, right? And we'd seen what would be. So he shouldn't look. Technically, if you did take a step back, he shouldn't have done it. But I understand why he did it. I understand why he did it. Walk off the pitch. I understand it completely. But I mean, best two teams of the tournament arguably win the final. Arguably, I will say arguably here. Out of respect, because Zimbabwe.
I agree with that. Definitely.
But I thought
it's nothing to do with Nigeria. Is because I see.
Oh, here we go.
No,
here we go.
No, you let me land. I'm not even. I said when I made that face, it was a shot at Morocco. It was nothing to do with Nigeria. We saw the skullduggery with Morocco throughout the entire. They tried to hand the tournament to them.
Oh yeah, I mean,
as the host nation.
You see the towels. The towel thing. The towel thing was ridiculous. With the
towel thing was a nonsense, but there was a few incidents throughout the tournament. That I'm thinking, and then
I was told by a Moroccan supporter, and Naeem off air has put me straight. I've been told by a Moroccan supporter that within the towel of the goalkeeper, that there was some, objects that alluded to some black magic, and that's why they were against it. Now, again, I was blindsided, and this was told to me. I've come on, and then Naeem has told me that he's a devout Muslim. So, I mean, I will be delivering that response to that.
Please do. I expect the feedback. I want to know the feedback.
So wait, what? So the Moroccan goalkeepers were doing something?
No. Eduardo Mendy, the Senegalese keeper, was doing allegedly some sort of juju with that towel. I don't know what juju you do with the towel. That's why they were trying to pull the towel away. Same towel they stole from you.
But then what about in the semi-final? So all the West African keepers were doing juju.
Yeah, allegedly.
I rest my case. But sorry, Naeem, I cut you. When I made that face, it wasn't about.
No, it's calm.
It wasn't about Nigeria. It was about Morocco and that. Yeah.
It
was too blatant, man. It was too blatant.
And I think, I think that they've done it in previous tournaments. There's been talk of cancelled flights. We all know about those sort of things. Electricity not running, no Wi-Fi here. But we won't go. I think. Credit to Senegal. I thought they're missing Koulibaly. I can't remember the other player. They're missing their best defensive players. Going forward, they look good. That Mbaye, who's came off the bench, the kid from PSG. What I liked about this Senegalese team, they've got the experience there with Mane, but some of the youngsters they got coming through as well. It's really, really exciting times for Senegalese football. I ain't gonna lie, I was really happy they won it because I thought they got cheated. But I was trying to think of a worse penalty. People were trying to say this is a Dan one in the World Cup, but that was in the middle of the game. Slightly different. And this was literally the last kick of the game. And I think he took the penalty. He took the foot of another player. I don't think he was meant to be taking it. And
apparently he took it with his weaker foot, which is even if that's true.
Guys, before we go, listen, let's not take away Senegal, Mane, potentially the last game, but we need to talk about the penalty. I mean, what was going on here?
17 minutes.
I've been told that the Moroccan said that the reason why he did it is because everybody would say that they're cheating. So they just thought, you know what? Hold that. I mean,
do you know what I think he tried to do? He tried to ice the game in such style so it will live forever. But you have to score that. If you're going to do that, you better bloody score. And what happened? You've cost your team the game. You've cost your nation a trophy. They hadn't made a final since 2004. I don't think they haven't won it since 1974. So the weight is still on. You're the host nation. These things happen. One thing I'll say about the walking off incident, I didn't like it from the viewpoint of, how they're going to talk about this in the press. And they're going to... I felt because the tournament was a beautiful tournament from start to finish. You know, it was a real testament to Africa, to African football, a real highlight, right? And, you know, AFCON has been, you know, like a running joke in terms of, you know, the memes and, you know, the dodgy decisions and, you know, some of the brain dead football and some of the stuff you just see in a pitch and you're just thinking, but this was a masterful tournament, right?
Brilliant, yeah.
And for it to possibly end with a team so aggrieved to walk off the pitch, I could just see the headlines, and they even tried to still do some of the headline rubbish, you know, with the Western media. And I just thought it would. I tweeted that it would have been a sad end to what has been a brilliant tournament. Although I stood with Senegal, and I think you all did. It was disgusting. And listen, they were all within their rights. If you feel like you got cheated, you make a stand, yeah. But I just felt, you know, if this was to be the final kick of the game, and say the ref blows the whistle, gives them the penalty kick, and they score, and they win like this, it would have been a sad way to end. But again, justice prevailed. Brahim Diaz, you know, you killed yourself. You tried to, you know, do a Panenka penalty. You haven't got the minerals for that. You've cost your nation a trophy. Papa Gueye, what a goal! What a strike! If you're gonna win a final, that's a goal befitting of a final.
And you know what? Even when you look at the last two goals that they scored, even Mane in the semi-final, and then they get like those goals. You look at that, and I thought Mane's performance was fantastic. I thought Guehi was amazing in that midfield. I haven't seen that play in a long time, but for me, Mane, one of the oldest players there. Some people were saying his last legs. He was finished at Liverpool, Bayern Munich. He's playing in Saudi. I saw him and I thought, wow, this Liverpool are missing this guy. I know obviously he's gone, but I thought he used to play for them in his prime. No wonder. I thought was fantastic, especially as a forward.
That pride he has in Senegal, like you see him when he speaks about being the captain of Senegal, coming from nothing, you know, being that guy, and he's, you know, was become one of the best footballers in the world. You see the pride when he plays for that country, isn't it? You see it. You know, some people just turn up to play. He's got that natural pride. You can see it.
It means a lot.
It means a lot. It means a lot to him. And I think you're just happy for him. I hope he doesn't retire from the international stage. I still think he's got a lot to give Senegal.
I mean, he's going to look into it. But honestly, big up Senegal. And well done for them, man. I think the right team won it in the end.
think the one thing I want to say about Mane, and I remember, I think we know Alexander, I think it was him with Alexander Arnold before they were talking about the difference between him and Salah. They said Salah, goal machine, this and that. Because when there was things going wrong at Liverpool, give it to Mane. Mane will do something. And I think because he's obviously, we haven't seen him for a bit, we forget how good he was.
Oh, no, not me.
I remember those goals in the Emirates where he just cut in from the right back. Yeah.
And one thing I'll say before we round up here is this notion that AFCON isn't a major tournament. Look at the pain in Morocco's eyes, the players' eyes. Look at when Senegal thought they were going to lose to a dodgy decision. Look at what it meant. So I don't want to hear this notion that AFCON is some idiot tournament. Like, it's a major tournament and it's time it gets its bloody respect. So next time I want to see Sky pick it up. I want to see TNT pick it up. I want to see it get its proper respect. I don't want to see it on Channel 4. Unless Channel 4 is going to make a splash into football properly. I don't want to see it on Channel 4. I don't want it to be different.
No, you want it, but it's international football, no?
I don't want
I want the tournament to go on. And I think you're right, Ed, in terms of what I don't want to do is, can you just please give us our credit? No, I think what you saw from that tournament, the headlines, the drama, and the more African players that play in this country and choose to play for their national teams, it will grow and get bigger. That's just it, because you're going to want to think, okay, let me go and watch. Because if you think about Liverpool supporters, they are not watching AFCON. But Salah, in his pomp, they did think, right, I need to check on my star guy now to see what the hell is going on. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Is he coming back? Is he not coming back? You know, so you're right, Ed, and I think it will. The more and more African players that we get across Europe, which we've had for decades, and they stick with their teams, I think it will do. And you're right, it was
But the
just thought
quality
that
was
final
very
was
high quality
unbelievable.
football in the tournament as well. I think that's one thing to your point, Ed. That the quality of the football was really, really good as well.
But that's the thing. Like, we know the stereotypes that they want to put on, you know, Black and African players, but the myth, it's a myth anyway. This tournament did a lot to dispel the myth, because the notion is, you know, we're just physical specimens and we're athletes and we don't think the game. But you don't think Senegalese players think the game?
Honestly, yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Senegal, honestly, I watched that, and again, I thought I remember when they played England, I was just like, this is a serious team, and this is 2 generations now, because we've seen them from 2002. That was a real golden generation as well.
Adrift's time, isn't it? That he was there.
Yeah, that was a real.
They came in, they beat France. We're the first team to beat France.
They beat them.
They beat France. They beat them 1-0 in that tournament.
Yeah, so
Papa Diop wasn't, I think. Was it?
Yeah, RIP, man.
But all right. Well, listen, guys, thank you so much, Ed and Naeem, again for today. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Peace out. We'll see you next time.